Hey everybody, it's BTC Gambler here. Guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are all well. Listen, my Alphaverse is in a right old bloody mess. Look at it. But I'm not worried. It's under heavy need of maintenance. I've got loads of virtual machines that need patching, updating, and they just keep hanging. So that's the reason the way it is at the moment. But that's not what this video is about. I'm not worried about that. I can fix all that, and I'm in the process of fixing it all. So by the end of this video, this will all be fixed. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you a story, and I have an idea. It came to me like in a dream, and I had visualized this idea so much so that I had to test it, and I want to run it by you guys today. So we're working on a new piece of code here, and you can see, it's currently still called Infinity Code Dual Game in version 18. However, that is no longer, it's still a dual game, and it's not Infinity Code anymore. So it's going to be completely changed before you get to see this. Before this video is over, this will have a proper name, and it will be pushed out to GitHub, and you can get a copy of it. And it's worth you doing that, because there's been a couple of refinements I've added into the repository, which I haven't released yet. So if we go back to the main screen, you see now I've added this column here called version. The reason I added that is out of necessity. I found that when I click this button here, not every single one of them updated, and I didn't know which version of the code I was on. I was using the stage as the version, but because we use stage within the game, that kept changing. So I literally added a new field, and if we go back into the code, and I highly recommend you do the same, I added a line here that says what version number. So if you're changing version, it's just a visual element there, but it's going to make your life a lot easier to see that you've definitely switched over to new version of a game. That was done out of necessity. Secondly, I've added a button here which isn't working yet, so bear with me. It says withdraw the vault, because that button was there before, had no function whatsoever. So I thought, what could I replace it with? And I thought something practical could be withdraw the vault into the balance. But for some reason it's not working at the moment, and I will look at that. Can't guarantee that will be fixed by the time this goes out. And another feature that I think you're all going to find really useful, I will show you that in a moment, because I'm in the middle of changes. When you pause it, it pauses it. It doesn't show the pause statement over and over again, so you can lose track if you want to track things. So the pause statement literally says pause once and it just sits there. And that was changed in the Dicebot code itself. And we're going to look at the Dicebot code now, because this is the objective of what the plan was. But the vision that came to me is, what if there's a way you could just we're playing this game with the simple fact is that we're not looking to win, we're not looking to lose, we're looking to wager at least 1,000, why not make it 2,000, job done for the week, yeah? And if we could do that really quickly, then you only need to run Alphaverse for a couple of hours a week and then go off and do it. So I've been working on a very aggressive form of wagering, and you'll see in a minute the numbers are crazy. Literally what I've done, I've crunched the numbers, guys. I've crunched the numbers. If I bring those in, I said, and I talk TRX, and it doesn't matter which currency we're talking about here, but if I said you had a start balance of 40, would be $4.57 per account, whatever currency you're going to use, it doesn't matter what the currency it's going to use, you can do the maths accordingly. So whatever that may well be, okay? For me, I'm working in TRX, which is $4.57 in my code here. So if we look at the code, okay, the code was designed purely, just to wager as much and as fast as possible, and there's been a fundamental change in the way that the code works. And the sole objective of this code is to wager as much as possible, as fast as possible, and then just get out. Yeah, and I've set the target to be $2,000. Now I'm working in the currency TRX, and if we look at, and I say we have a start balance of 40, and that's defined within the client config. And if you look under the code here, the start balance, which is a critical variable used throughout the code, is whatever's in your recovery threshold in your client config. So this makes it agnostic to the currency that you're going to be using. But what I do say is that for me, 40 TRX is around $4, say $4.60 roughly, $4.57. That should be your sort of start balance irrespective of what your currency you're going to be using. But we would just talk TRX in this instance, but you guys are smart enough, you can work out the maths behind whatever currency you're going to be using. But know in mind, just say it's $4.60 is a start balance per account. And the goal here is that I want to wager $2,000 as fast as possible and then just get out and get on with my life. Maybe I might need to run Alphaverse a couple of hours a week, because we're not looking to win, we're not looking to lose. We are simply looking to wager and to gain all the VIP perks. And if we can do that without losing any money, then great. Then I'm giving you back your life. So you can just literally run Alphaverse for a couple of hours. Let's see how it runs. Now, so this idea came to me in a dream, in a vision, and I just thought, wow. I was so intrigued by the idea. I had to test it. And you'll see in a minute, it's absolutely freaking crazy. So you're coming in on this journey quite early on, because I want you to see some of the processes that go on in the background here. Certainly, there's Mr. BTC Gambler's brain work. If I want to wager $2,000 in TRX is 17,530. But I've rounded that up. 17,000, since I've done this video. This has only been a day. Obviously, TRX must have dropped in value, which is really annoying. Bear with me a sec. I need to re-evaluate. Right, at this moment in time then, so if I said, just rounded that up, 2,000 is 17,513. If I said that was 17,600, that gives us a little bit of room for fluctuations in variations in order for me to calculate out what the profit target is. So that would be $2,000. So the way I calculate the profit target is a multiplier of the start balance. 40 TRX is clean. So we know that the base target will be 440 times the start balance, which would be 17,600. And that is the formula. So we divide that by here. And just to sense check that, we could say that equals that times that. And it should be 17,600, and it is. And so we know that is true. So if we look at the code here, so 440, you get a wager target. So I'm going to have to change the code now. 440, that is the wager target. And as the code starts, it will pause for like 3 seconds. And it will show you, if you're looking in the screen, what your start balance is, what your base bet is, what your fault threshold is, and what your wager target is. And when it reaches its wager target, it just stops the game. Okay, so if we get to $2,000, the game just ends. And you can see here, it's got it in all stages. If the wager is higher than the wager target, just exit the game. We've done our job. Now, another really big shift in the game is that in stage 1, where we're betting at 99% win chance, so there was a 1% loss chance, I've increased that to 99.99%. So there's but I've gone in big. So, and you'll see when we set stage 1, the next bet is just the start balance divided by 4. So my instance will be 10, so it's going to bet 10. Now, when you're betting at 99.9% win chance, every win is a loss. You lose, and so you then need a recovery even on a win. And then it kicks into Dragon Tower. And in Dragon Tower, we're not chasing losses. Yeah, we're literally going straight in, 14 times the base bet, martingale, looking for one hit wonder to get out as quick as possible. And yeah, we're using this concept of the round profit. So when the round profit is greater than the round target, and the round target is set in the set stage, is the balance minus the start balance minus the balance. So like you're going to be in a negative scenario, so it needs to know exactly. So as soon as it's above 0, it'd go back into dice. It would come back out of dice very quickly, mind you, but sometimes it can stay there for a little bit. So I'm hoping that's making sense. So I've been doing some testing of the code, and I'm about to change it. Bear with me. If I run the dice bot, see it's pausing, it's telling me what I need to know. It's telling me the start balance. And you see now when you click pause, yeah, it pauses. It doesn't have the pause statement because you can lose vital information off the screen. And that was managed within the code. Yeah, this section of the code here managed the pause. But what I've done, I've added a little flag in there to say if it's already been logged, don't repeatedly show the pause statement again. So it shows it just the once. Okay, and it releases it from false when it's not paused, if you know what I mean. So that works a treat. You do have to add a system variable right at the very beginning to say let pause flag equal false, so that is a variable, and then this is a modification of the pause. And I highly recommend you encourage to change yours to that, because it just makes it a lot easier when you're diagnosing and you're sort of checking the code minutely. So if I go to a combined screen, we've got the game paused at the moment. You can see it's paused, no repeated pause, which is really handy. It's telling me the key information, obviously the base bet amount, what the vault threshold is, and what the wager target is, which has now been increased to 17,600, which is $2,000. And we can see here, this is the account here. We can look at the amount wagered, and I click play just for a moment, and we can see the betting in action. We got a bust straight away. There is a 3,500 recovery pot. Pause it until that comes through, and hopefully all goes well. And then we pause it. Yeah, we look at this. It's interesting. So we're still in a negative scenario. Yeah, of 0.5, which is quite a lot. So it's going to stay hopefully in Dragon Tower. So not quite right, guys. So because the round profit is currently, well, the profit is negative 0.51, but the profit target is 0.155, so that should be matching through. Let me just keep running it for a sec. You see how much it's wagered literally in a few seconds, so I think this is going to stay in. I'm just going to pause it a sec to see exactly we are. Switching back to dice, we're still negative. Okay, it's gone back into profit. It seemed to have rectified itself. Let's look how fast it's wagering, guys. Look at the speed of the wagering. Now, this is all very experimental. I mean, I can imagine if I put all of Alphaverse in this, it'd be crazy. But if we can hit the wager target very quickly and just, be done for the week, and give your life back. That would just be awesome. No point playing beyond that. If you wanted to be a bit more aggressive, let me wait till this gets back in profit. Okay, I'm going to pause it. That seemed to work really well in a very, very short period of time. We were almost 1,000 2x wagered. Very aggressive. Yeah, we just follow this code through, guys. Like you can see here, it's switched to the game dice. Starting up from the bottom anyway, you can see we're in Dragon Tower and we lost the previous two. Prior to that, we went into dice and we did one bet of 10 TRX. Yeah, and we won. But even though we won, you still lose, because it's 99.9% win chance. You still lose like 10% of your bet amount. So you need to come and recover it that way. Yeah, and he seems to do like one bet every single time in dice. I may tinker around with this code a little bit, so it spends a little bit more in dice. But yeah. But I've got a job to do now, which is basically I've got to fix that. Okay, so I'm going to get all this fixed up, and I'll bring you back with an update. But in principle, you can see what I'm doing. Now, if I can pull this off, it's going to make life so much easier for everybody else. Right, I'll speak to you very soon. Right, guys. Many hours have passed. I've had a bit of a battle with my Alphaverse today. I've had to pretty much reboot and everything. It's taken ages, but yeah, I've got version 19 of the code wrote it everywhere now. Yeah, very apprehensive to click start, because doing one is fine. What this strategy is absolutely insane, guys. It's like reset the profit. We're going to reset the timer in a minute, but you watch this wager. I mean, literally, yeah, it's going to be mad. It's going to be mad. Right, I expect it's going to crash a lot. I've got 2 recovery pots of 3,500 in play. I don't know how well this is going to play out. I don't know how frequent it's going to bust. Oh, we got 3 pretty much straight away. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to cope. I'm up to 5 already. Yeah. Fuck me. There's loads of busts. I think we need lots of recovery pots. Oh, look at the profit. But what? Shit. I'm going to pause it. Less than 1 minute. 64,000 wagered. I think I'm going to need a lot more recovery pots if I'm to run this. Actually, I'm not. So what I'll end up doing, guys, I'll end up manually recovering this. and then seriously think about maybe having lots and lots of smaller recovery pots, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I really need to think about this. That busts far too frequently. We're going to need like 20 recovery pots in there to cope with this. Maybe like instead of 3,500, like 500. I don't know. Let me think about this and I will bring you back. Okay, gentlemen, guys and girls. Right, that did not work too well at all. I think that was way too aggressive. I managed to recover every single one, but I have to say it came a bit hairily close. But I recovered them all. Created a new code. So that was just too aggressive. So let me show you. So this is running version 20 on this test client here. I've been running it for a little while and I'm going to show you the code here. So version 20 is going back to 99% win chance on stage 1 and it's doing 10 times the base bet. So it's quite aggressive still, and stage 2 hasn't really changed, so really we just want to recover our losses and go back into stage 1. I suspect that what will happen as a consequence of doing that, if we look at the two clients that, let me show you the screen. So this one here, this one is running. So it's very good wagering. So that's only been running for 15 minutes. And I just love this idea, within the code, if you could just set and forget, I want to give you back your life. If we can just say, we set a target, we hit Alphaverse to run, and then when we hit the target, just stop. And that target I've set as $2,000, you might want to set that 10,000, whatever you might want that to be. But I just kind of really like that idea. Yeah, this one seems a lot more stable. So I'm going to pause this, and you can see when I pause it, but if I click play and I pause it, it pauses. Not the pause button coming up and over again. And I've been a code change to make that happen. It makes it much easier to diagnose. Let's go back to the other screen. Now clicking this button here technically should update every client, including the one that's already done. And we know when it's done because like the version, I've added new field here, version. So I've changed the code. So version control here, let version equals 20 here. And I updated the, by the time this video goes live, you will be able to pull this down. So I'll keep that name there, version 20. So, and I'll probably remove the rest. I don't know. Yeah, I've updated the index.pug file to add a new field where it says version here. Or if you don't define it, we just put a blank mark there. And of course, as a consequence of that did break the get IPs because the column it was looking to get the IP tables also had to be incremented by 1. That was on 17, that was 18, that's been updated as well. Okay, that's got it done, guys. So we double check everything, just make sure that the version number is the same for every account. We don't want any uglies here. Now, there's a lot of unknowns, particularly with this script. I haven't fully mapped out the maths. There's 2 recovery pots in play, 3,500. Now, I don't know if that's optimal yet, but I'm just going to let it run anyway, which basically gives us a 7,000 recovery pot, technically. Anyway, we'll let's kick this off. Now, I have no idea how stable this is going to be, how frequent it's going to be. It is still very aggressive. So I'm going to reset the timer, reset the profit, and then we'll leave this running for an hour. Let's see how it plays out. There's a lot of unknowns within this particular version of the code. Maybe by the time we get back, so we got 2 busts very quickly. Slightly concerning. Okay guys, we're just approaching the hour mark. When that reaches 1 hour, I'm going to pause it. Hopefully we don't get a crash. Right, 1 hour. I'm going to capture the numbers. Now during those events, during that, we had a couple of interesting events happen before we move on. We had 2 bots that crashed. I've had a series of those over the last couple of days, and it's where it's nothing to do with this setup or anything. It's my setup. I've had virtual machines that have been running for like 100 days, and they just occasionally freeze up. I've been slowly getting through them all, but when you've got 165 of them, it's a bit of a chore. So 2 of them, unfortunately, we lost kind of the statistics from them, but I made a note of them because we're going to be working on averages, and I'm going to exclude those numbers from the averages. Alright, we will see them as being blindingly obvious. Yeah, there's one here. I had to reset it, and it's only like weighted half of the amount, so I'm going to have to exclude them from the averages. Right, let me crunch the numbers. Okay guys, so what I've done, I've taken out the sensitive data, and I've just the only bit we're interested in is the profit in the wager per account and the max loss streak, I suppose, because like I said, I've been re-crunching the numbers, and I've looked at everything. Okay, so what we want is an average of the profit and an average of the wagering. Okay, so we work out the average for the profit, and we work out the average for the wagering. Max loss streak we lost is 13. Okay, so they're sort of the key important metrics we make. So we can take this information, and we can take, say for example, if we put it in here. So here we're measuring the amount of TRX wagered per client. So we can say that equals, and the amount of profit per client, that equals, and that's going to give us really vital information, guys, because 650, you know, if you've seen before, that is an incredible figure. You know, we are taking on more risk, but what I want to do is want you to kind of set and forget this, you know. So if we set ourselves an objective here to wager $2,000, you know, this would be my ideal goal. Hear me out. Okay, I want you to gamble responsibly. Yeah, if you can wager $2,000, and if you can do that as quick as possible with the least amount of risk, well, not least amount of risk, but get it over and done with, then you can have your life back, you know. So looking at these numbers here, if our target is 17,600, which is $2,000, and you're averaging 650 an hour, this is going to take 27 days. This would only take 1.13 days to wager $2,000, and I would say be done with it. Be done with it. You've met your objective. The objective here is to wager $2,000 a week per account. That will give you access to every single VIP perk: rake back, reload, weekly, monthly, pre-monthly, post-monthly, and they all add up to a tidy sum of money. So the more accounts you've got, the more you're going to be. So we've got lots of other things to talk about the figures as well. So the figures always fascinate me, guys, and this is where probably I get the most enjoyment out of it. Is the statistics, the data, and analysing it all. This is just incredible. If you can do your week's wagering requirement within 1 day, great on you. You know, if you wanted to continue to run it, obviously you can adjust the code. The code has been set up so it stops at $2,000 wagered. But nothing's stopping you just restarting the bot. It's entirely up to you. Now we did actually make a profit as well. So we said on per account we made 1.97 on average TRX profit, which isn't much, which is 22 cents, which for the day is $5.21. Times that by the number of accounts. Now for me, I've got 166 accounts. It says there, but it's actually 165. I ain't gonna change it. For me, that's like $36 for the hour, which is like does match up here, there and thereabout. $38 profit for this session. We saw it was reset to 0 for the day. That would make 864, and for the week that would make 6,000. I mean, that's huge, guys. I mean, it's huge. But I'd say to minimise your risk, just get the 2,000 and get out, and try not to look at this as a profit. It's wrong for me to tell you what to do. Okay. You choose what you want to do, okay? Don't listen to me. very uncomfortable about telling people what to run in Alphaverse. I don't mind providing a platform, don't mind providing everything, but what you want to gamble, how you want to gamble is totally your own choice. Okay, I just come up with ideas, and I'm playing what they call the comp VIP game rather than trying to make profit on here. Now, I also tend to think in terms of what's the recovery point. What if I was to lose the recovery part, which is going to happen at some point? It's going to be inevitable. And I've been double thinking the numbers, and I want to show you what I've been working on. After doing the mathematics and the calculation behind the recovery pot size, there is a much better way. You would have seen for the duration of that video that we built up lots of bust accounts, and it took ages to catch up. I mean, that's lost productivity, guys. And so, but also, yeah, it's not very smooth running. You need more than 2 recovery pots in play. So let me show you something. So at the moment, we got the recovery pot set to 3,500. So that takes us up to, as it stands at the moment, the recovery pot will kick in at the 10th loss, and it will cover us up to 16. But you can see the remaining balance is 1,200. So I've calculated that actually we don't need 3,500. It's a bit of a waste, actually. You've got exactly the same amount of risk if you change it to 2,300. Do you see the crash point doesn't change? So I'm saying that you're better off with more recovery pots in play with a lower balance, and it still covers up to the same maximum loss streak. The reason you're seeing a much lower max loss streak in this is because it spends most of its time in stage 1, and it goes into stage 2 just looking for like a snipe, 1 win out. That's basically what it does. And so you're not long in stage 2. Yeah, as a consequence, though, what you're going to see is that the max loss streak that we perceive is going to be a lot lower than if you was just to run straight Dragon Tower, because it doesn't spend much time in there. It's more like a sniping type of. So you can see here, like we measured like the max loss streak across all accounts was 13. At some point that will go up. But if we've got a recovery part of 2,300, within 7 hours you've made that back, certainly on 165 accounts. So I tend to think along those lines. If I've made a recovery pot, I've got a neat little script that will shift all the vaults to one account. You may as well cover it rather than chase it. Your choice is yours. You could, like, for example, go back here. So I'm saying you should have like 4 or 5 recovery pots in play, and you're going to get a much smoother operation then, and less downtime on the bots. But if we said here we use those recovery pots to recover, that's extra 9,200 will only cover us for an extra 2 bets. Yeah. Is it worth the risk? Is it worth the risk? You could do it, entirely be your choice. But if you crashed, certainly within 7 hours you would have made enough funds, enough profit to rebuild that recovery pot back up. And my advice would be to just reset it and just use a little script that can shift all the vaults to one account to recover that recovery pot. Is this making sense, guys? I mean, as I say before, lots of times in my videos, feedback is really important for me. I put a lot of time, effort and energy into these videos, and the coding and everything else. Yeah, I would really appreciate some feedback. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I'm talking into an echo chamber. And I know you'll listen, but just get very little feedback. There's very few people. Right, so one of the questions I'm commonly asked, what is my total, if I was to run this, what would be my total investment? And I would say, if you're running this strategy, I'm not saying you should run this strategy, but if you wanted to run this strategy, the recovery pot sizes stay the same irrespective of the number of bots. Now I'm saying running with 5 recovery pots in play, but that may well be a bit overkill. If we took that down to 3, which is probably more sensible. If we're looking not to recover the recovery pots and we're just going to reset them if they was to lose, then your total investment really is going to be 40 TRX per account, which is about $4.60. So whatever currency you're using, so say $4.60 per account, but the recovery pots stay the same. So reducing the number of bots does not reduce the recovery pot sizes. So you're better off having more bots and then you got the same recovery pots protecting all of them. And that's the whole concept of Alphaverse, is that you run many accounts, many bots, all protected with the same recovery pots. So the more accounts you got, the better you're going to get from this, and the more weeklies you get, the more bonuses you get. So really, I would say the biggest single determining factor of success of this is not so much, the strategy you run. It's about the number of bots that you run, and then the strategy sort of fits on top of that. That makes sense. And we're just trying to find strategies and idea. This is version 20 now, and that's what will be released by the time this video goes live. If you was to run a get pool, there's lots of updates, but I will leave a number of them in there. So I will probably leave 11, 12 and 20. All the rest were experimental. Yeah, I did a video on version 11 and I did a video on version 12, and now I've done a video. This is for version 20. So you can go back and watch that video if you want to know more about version 11 and version 12. So really, that's the common question. What is my total investment? What's my expected return? What's the recovery time? And how much profit and loss am I going to make? Those are sort of things you're going to be calculating out. And so the starting point from all of this, so the first objective is if you're going to work out how much is your investment. So like, if I'm running 165 bots. If you was running, say, 50 bots, for example, then your investment's going to be less. It's about $1,300. But then again, your return is going to be less as well. So it's entirely up to you. See, this gives you the good basis point to work out what is my expected return. I see on average, and it is a complete yardstick, and it will vary very much dependent on, nobody knows the formula that they use to calculate how much to give you back on a weekly. It is very much dependent on the VIP level. That has a huge difference. The higher the VIP level, the higher that they pay back out. So I can't give you a precise number, but what I can do is give you a guesstimation. Let's go and look at a couple of accounts. So we look at this account here, and if what I've done, I just brought up the transactions, and I've gone into how much it's paid out in bonus. So you can start working out how much it's going to pay out. So we can look at, this is for the month of May. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bonuses. Yeah, based on just those figures alone, if we said on average it's going to pay out like $70 just in VIP perks alone per account, I'm not sure why. I think it might be a little bit more than that when you factor it all in, and I may not have collected them all, but these are the stats that I've got to go by. On 165 accounts, that's $11,550, guys. You see why I keep bleating on about why you should play the VIP perk system and not look to beat the casino. Just play, wager, collect, and take every single bonus available to you. Don't abuse the rain. Eddie does not like that. He doesn't like rain bots. He doesn't like bots that collect the bonuses. Don't do that. And I tend to only collect my rate back once a month. So yeah, that's not even in those calculations as well. So you can see it's a decent amount, guys. And if you had that into there, if you had some profit to go onto that as well, that's what I'm trying to promote. That's what I'm trying desperately to promote to you guys. And that's going to be, you can use those numbers as a yardstick for your own calculations. I know some of you out there that are sitting there thinking very mathematically, scientifically, methodical, almost business-like about approach to this. Use these figures and then apply your maths associated to that. And if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, everybody should have this spreadsheet anyway, because this is the I want to be free, that I've been circulating around for ages. And this is the Dragon Tower calculator. And if you don't have it, you can message me and I will send it to you. But what I want to do now is I need to drain down all the recovery pots in here into one location. I need to change the recovery pot size to 2,300. And that means I will probably have 4 in play, and I will play it like that. And if I lose a recovery pot, I ain't going to bother chasing it. So that, guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, is version 20. So if you used to run a Git pool now, you can have that. So that will be there. I'd set up the package.json file ready for that, so that you can run version 20. You know the maths. Version 20 requires 2,300. Recovery pot size is covered. They put it in here in the description here. So 2,300 recovery pot size, and I say a minimum you need 4 of those in play, simply because the frequency of busts. You know, you could risk it by running 1 recovery pot, but I don't recommend it. I think you'll have Alphaverse can really get confused if it has too many busts. Yeah, the bust threshold has been calculated for you. It's 25, and that will be there version 20, and that will be there when you run a git pool. If you've got any questions, you know where to go, guys. It's Discord, message me, PM me, or anything. So yeah, good luck on this. Yeah, and I be interested on your feedback. Please comment, please feedback, please like the video, please forward it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things you need to do, guys, to help me. Yeah, to help me boost my channel. Right, I'm going to end it there, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.